Eloy Jimenez has been in the White Sox organization since the summer of 2017, but it's safe to say we as Sox fans have yet to witness his true potential. There have definitely been glimpses and eye-opening moments, but injury after injury this past season limited Jimenez to just 84 games. He had an outstanding second half and was able to stay healthy for the most part. So will Eloy Jimenez be the primary designated hitter for the Chicago White Sox in 2023?
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong, diehard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Really appreciate you letting me steal some of your time to talk off-season White Sox. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Eloy Jimenez prefers to play left field, but it's a matter of keeping him healthy. Jimenez put up some awesome numbers post All-Star break this past season as the White Sox used him primarily as a DH. And was that a peek at what the future holds for Eloy? The ALCS is set, as is the NLCS. They're underway. Are the White Sox closer to hiring their next manager? It is the off season for the Chicago White Sox. You know they finished 81-81. Second place in the AL Central, finished 11 games back of the Cleveland Guardians that just got bounced by the New York Yankees. Yankees heading back to the ALCS. Before we get into some postseason talk, and of course, all about Eloy Jimenez, got to talk Sox managerial search 2022. Every day there's something new that pops up, right? I'm sure you are searching just as much as I am. And the recent stuff that I saw from Scott Merkin, MLB, he writes for MLB.com, White Sox beat writer, longtime White Sox beat writer. And this is what Scott Merkin was going after here recently, talking about Jim Thome. Jim Thome possesses a wealth of baseball knowledge, along with being a first-class individual. He would make for a good manager if that's a job of interest to the Hall of Famer at some point. That is what Scott Merkin tweeted out. I don't know. Jim Thome was on the list for Bet Online. They had the odds for Jim Thome. He was down at the bottom. I was surprised that Jim Thome's name was on there. However, that would be a very Jerry Reinsdorf thing to do, right? It reminds me of Robin Ventura. Robin Ventura came back to the organization. He had a bizarre role for a short amount of time and then was put into the managerial job. I don't even know if there was much of a search after Guillen left. So could that happen with Jim Thome? I'm sure he's got a great baseball mind, obviously a Hall of Famer. I don't personally look at him as a White Sox legend. That would be for Cleveland. I believe they've got a statue up of him. His number's retired with Cleveland. Did Jim Thome do some amazing things in a White Sox uniform? Absolutely. He still has a presence within the organization, and I know he has some sort of title, and Jerry Reinsdorf thinks highly of him. So now we're hearing Jim Thome. After hearing some exciting names of Joe Espada and Pedro Grifol, I'm not too excited about Jim Thome. Ozzie Guillen continues to be a name that we're watching. Again, according to MLB analyst Bruce Levine, this is what he had to say recently, quote, "All I know from what I hear is Guillen has not been ruled out." That's what Levine said on 670 The Score recently. Quote, "Does that mean he's the next manager of the White Sox? No. I'm just saying they are considering anybody and everybody," end quote. And Willie Harris, of course, member of the 2005 Chicago White Sox, he's been the third base coach for the Cubs. Willie Harris has talked about recently his interest in this Sox managerial job. I'm pretty sure he was interviewed in 2020, one of the few folks that was actually interviewed before I mean Jerry put Tony La Russa in that job. Harris might have been the only guy that really they talked to, but apparently the White Sox have not reached out to Willie Harris yet to interview him for the open managerial role. However, this is interesting here from Willie Harris. However, Willie Harris would return to the White Sox as a bench coach if Ozzie Guillen were to be named the manager. So kind of odd for Willie Harris to kind of open up and start talking about that regarding Ozzie Guillen. It's almost like Willie Harris knows something that we don't know. Instead of talking about the managerial job, now he is starting to mention the bench coach. Seems like there's some smoke there, but I would be shocked personally if Ozzie Guillen is named manager of the White Sox. But then again, it wouldn't completely surprise me. It wouldn't be more surprising than the last manager announcement just about 2 years ago. So again, every day there's something new names popping up, new different rumors and threads to follow. The MLB playoffs, we've got the NLCS going on, Padres and Phillies. The Rick Hahn has a seat at the table, LCS. Either Harper or Machado are going to be headed to the World Series. That is going to be agonizing for Sox fans after, of course, what happened during the 2018-2019 off season. Should be an exciting series. Definitely pulling for the National League team out of that, because in the ALCS, we've got Yankees, Houston, the New York Yankees advance. They took down the Cleveland Guardians. I personally thankful that the Guardians are eliminated. I know there are a lot of folks that could not stomach rooting for the evil empire, the New York Yankees. I completely get it. That's not something that I regularly do. It's not like I was even really rooting for the Yankees. I just could not stomach seeing the Cleveland Guardians advance to the ALCS or beyond. And I know a lot of Sox fans wanted to see the Guardians go far just to kind of show the Sox organization, the Sox brass, like look at what's going on in Cleveland in our own division. This is how much better we need to get. And I feel like that has already been done by the Sox not winning the division in 2022 when they were a favorite and having the season that they had, and the Guardians winning the division. That enough should show the organization, and I think it has. Hey, we've got a ton of work to do. So I'm glad the Guardians are gone. Not very excited about this Yankees Astros ALCS. I couldn't care less for both of those teams. So I'll probably be rooting NL when it comes to the World Series. Hey, injuries have robbed us of seeing what Eloy Jimenez can truly do for the Chicago White Sox. But what an eye-opening second half of the 2022 season for Eloy Jimenez. More on that in a moment. Dress shirts are tricky. It's hard to find one that fits right while also being comfortable and matches your style. Plus, with all the hustle and bustle you got going on, you need a dress shirt that looks good enough to get the deal done at work, but is comfortable enough to play catch with your kid after dropping him off at practice. The dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man, and here's why. Mobility is everything. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. Looking good is easy. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. Odor-free tech with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology. You'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/locked on and use promo code locked on to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE, Rhone.com/locked on and use code locked on. It's the curious case of Eloy Jimenez. Eloy, of course, came over to the Chicago White Sox along with Dylan Cease in that 2017 trade for Jose Quintana. He made his White Sox debut opening day, March 28th, 2019 in Kansas City. He's got that infectious smile, seemingly effortless power, and clearly loves the game of baseball. When things were going well for him this past year and going great for the Sox in 2021, I absolutely loved when the camera would focus on Eloy having fun. But it has been a problem for him to stay on the field. In 2019, his first year, he played in 122 games out of course, 162. In 2020, he played in 55 of the 60 possible games, won a Silver Slugger Award as well. Now, 2021, he only played in 55 games out of 162. And then this past season, 2022, played in 84 games. Only played in 19 games in the first half. For the season, Jimenez slashed 295, 358, 500, 16 home runs, 12 doubles, 54 RBIs in just 84 games in 292 at-bats. Of course, Eloy Jimenez, he has got monster power and had a monster second half of the season. Put up some big numbers, not only power numbers, but a really nice batting average too, if you care about that, of course. And Eloy was a DH primarily instead of his preferred left field. Sox went, with a collection of different folks out there in left field. Vaughn, Pollock, Garcia, Engel, just to name a few. So Eloy's numbers post All-Star break were amazing. I mean, he slashed 323, 391, 558, had 14 home runs and 41 RBIs in 65 games. The often injured Jimenez is a curious case because I still don't think we have any idea of what we have in Eloy Jimenez. I mean, 139 games out of a possible 324 these last two seasons. Eloy doesn't want to be limited to a DH. But if he wants to be part of this White Sox team moving forward, he will probably have to change his attitude. He is not on this team for his glove, that's for sure. If the White Sox let Abreu walk, and there's more rumors every single day about the White Sox definitely parting ways with Jose Abreu. If the Sox do that and retain Andrew Vaughn, making him your first baseman moving forward, of course, Eloy should be the starting DH in 2023. Eloy is signed through 2024, and there are team options for 2025 and 26. Could that type of control be attractive on the trade market? Now, before Jimenez went on his post All-Star game tear, I've got to admit, I was able to make a case to trade Eloy Jimenez this offseason. One, if not two, of the core six will likely be gone. Rick Hahn has spoken about how the trading game will be the most likely route for the White Sox this offseason. Eloy was just not able to stay healthy. He's a defensive liability in the outfield, and maybe we just had to come to terms as a fan base that Dylan Cease will be the only player to pan out from that Quintana trade. Now, after the numbers that Eloy put up and was able to play consistently because he stayed healthy as a DH, boy, I think he knows and the organization knows how Eloy Jimenez should be utilized in 2023. Eloy spoke about how irritating it was this past season when he could not play in multiple games in a row, could not get into a rhythm because of the rest he needed for his legs. There were roughly 5 different occasions where Eloy suffered an injury this past season and needed to miss playing time. There was a hamstring, leg, ankle, another leg issue, an elbow. Sure, Eloy could hurt himself legging out an infield hit or trotting around the bases after a home run, but I'd rather take that chance than the alternative, him getting shelved trying to navigate his way around left field. I can't imagine a 25, almost 26-year-old baseball player satisfied with being relegated to the DH role, but I'm going to tell you why Eloy Jimenez will need to learn to love it. More on that in a moment. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite cookie dough chunk puffs. They have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All of the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories, and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Like all Built bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. Chocolate-covered cookie dough with a light, fluffy texture. What's great about Built is that all their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You are going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. Ditch the calories, fat, and sugar. Grab yourself a Built bar. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKEDON15. What should we expect from Eloy Jimenez in 2023? Is it possible that he can play 150 games? Maybe more like 140? Again, his high mark, he played 122 games in 2019. Again, the sample size is not there yet, in my opinion, but 145, 150, I think that's doable. I think that's what we want to see, right? That's the goal. The White Sox absolutely have to get better defensively next year and beyond. Eloy should be the primary designated hitter. Can we maybe expect 40 home runs, 90 to 100 RBIs? I mean, he had 31 home runs and 79 RBIs in 2019 when he played 122 games. Before the season started, before this 2022 season started, our friends at BetOnline had some lines set for Jimenez in RBIs and home runs, and the over-under for RBIs was 95.5, and the home runs over-under was 30.5. Now, he didn't come close because he only played in 84 games, but I think Those are definitely attainable numbers if he stays healthy. And by that, I mean used primarily as the designated hitter. Folks, thank you so much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We are on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up on the next episode, I will dive a little deeper into individual player performances like Lucas Giolito and continue to look at off-season options. Really appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Borowski, and until next time, go Sox.